How is it possible that a letter written by a man on death row is actually the most joyful book in the entire New Testament? It sounds like a total paradox, right? But the answer, hidden inside this short letter, is a complete game changer for what it means to actually live.
So the guy writing this is the Apostle Paul. And he's not just having a bad day, he's in a Roman prison, and execution is a very real possibility. And he writes this. This isn't some fake bravado. He's laying out a worldview where even dying is considered a win. I mean, what could possibly give someone that kind of perspective?
Get this, 16. In this super short letter, Paul mentions joy or rejoicing 16 times. It's almost overflowing. And he's not talking about, that fleeting happiness that depends on whether you're having a good day. He's talking about something way deeper, something that just can't be shaken. So what was his secret? How did he tap into a contentment so powerful that chains and a death sentence couldn't even touch it? Well, the answer is right here, in this letter to his friends in a city called Philippi.
Okay, so to really grasp the power of what Paul's saying, we have to first understand the darkness he was writing from. The context here is, well, it's everything.
So just try to picture this. It's around 62 CE. Paul is under house arrest, but this isn't some cozy setup. He is literally chained to a Roman guard, 24/7. His future is a giant question mark, and a death sentence is a very likely outcome. And it's from this place that he decides to write about joy. It's just wild. Now, what's so fascinating is that this letter isn't some heavy, dense theological work like his letter to the Romans. It's actually what scholars call a friendship letter. It's basically a warm, personal thank you note to the church in Philippi. These were his first converts in Eastern Europe, and you can just feel how much he loves this community.
In this friendship they had, it was really, really unique, especially when you understand the world they were all living in.
There's this incredible Greek word that's key to the whole thing, koinonia. Now, this isn't just about being buddies. It means a deep partnership in everything, in life, in mission, in resources. And here's the kicker. The Philippians were the only church that financially supported Paul's work. Their bond wasn't just emotional, it was a true covenant.
Now let's zoom in on the city itself. Philippi was basically a little Rome plopped down in Macedonia. It was a Roman colony, packed with retired military guys, and it was a hotbed of intense Roman patriotism. The whole culture revolved around honor, status, and climbing the ladder.
So you can see the problem, right? This sets up a massive culture clash. Everything about Roman culture screamed me first, honor, dominance, asserting yourself. But the way of Jesus that Paul was teaching, it was the absolute opposite, humility, serving others, and self-sacrifice. You can imagine how revolutionary that sounded.
So how on earth does Paul convince these proud Roman citizens to embrace this totally upside-down way of living? He doesn't just tell them to. He shows them a blueprint, and it's found in this stunning poem right in the heart of the letter.
This ancient Christian hymn in chapter 2, it's like the center of gravity for the whole book. It's more than just beautiful poetry. It's the entire gospel story packed into a few lines, and it holds the secret to Paul's unshakable joy. Let's just walk through the story. It begins with a Messiah existing in glory, equal with God. But, and this is the radical twist, he doesn't exploit that status. He doesn't cling to it. Instead, he empties himself. He gives up his privilege, becomes a human being, and not just any human, but the lowest of the low, a servant, a slave. And he follows that path of humility all the way to the most shameful death imaginable, a Roman execution rack. But that's not the end of the story. Because of that ultimate act of love, God lifts him up, exalts him, and gives him the name and honor above everything else.
And then Paul does something absolutely astounding. He quotes a passage from the Old Testament book of Isaiah that's all about how all creation will one day bow down to the one true God of Israel, and he applies it directly to Jesus. He's saying that in this crucified, humble servant, we see what God is truly like.
But here's the thing. For Paul, this isn't just a nice story to believe in. It's a pattern to live by. It's a blueprint for a totally new way of being human, and he points to real people who are actually doing it. He gives us living, breathing examples. He points to his friend Timothy, who genuinely cares more about others than he does himself. Then there's Epaphroditus, who almost died serving Paul. But instead of letting that be a story of failure, Paul holds him up as a hero. And then Paul looks at his own life, all his achievements, his status, his resume, and says, compared to knowing Jesus, all of it is just garbage. And all of this builds to Paul's grand finale.
This is where he finally pulls back the curtain and reveals the secret to his contentment, and it's hidden in one of the most famous and most misunderstood verses in the entire Bible.
Come on, you've seen this verse everywhere, right? It's on t-shirts and locker rooms. It's usually treated like a personal power slogan, like you can achieve any goal you set your mind to.
But the real meaning? It's so much more powerful than that.
You see, when Paul says, "I can do all things," he isn't talking about winning the championship or acing an exam. He's talking about his circumstances. He means he can handle having a lot, and he can handle having nothing. He can handle being hungry, and he can handle being full. That's the all things. His secret isn't a superpower for success. It's the strength to be content no matter what life throws at him, because he's relying on someone else's power, not his own.
And this brings us full circle, right back to that word joy. The Greek word is chara, and it's so important we get this right. Chara isn't happiness. Happiness depends on our happenings, our circumstances. This joy, chara, is a deep celebratory feeling that comes from knowing your ultimate purpose. It's a joy based not on what's going on around you, but what's happening in you.
And that right there is the huge takeaway from Philippians. Paul discovered that true security and real contentment don't come from getting the perfect life or controlling your circumstances. It comes from knowing who you are and whose you are, an identity that can never, ever be taken away.
So that leaves us with a pretty big question to chew on, doesn't it? If Paul's joy wasn't defined by his prison cell, what circumstances are we allowing to define ours? Our jobs, our relationships, our successes, and our failures. It's a challenging thought, and it's right at the heart of this incredible letter.